Welcome back. Today, we're jumping into a really powerful idea I call karmic intelligence. It's all about how unjust criticism can get completely turned on its head.
So let me just start with a question for you. What if being unfairly judged, dealing with criticism that you know you don't deserve, could actually be a source of strength? I know, it sounds totally backwards, but that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
And this leads us to the core concept, karmic reversal. The principle is pretty straightforward, but wow, it's deep. When someone's criticism is coming from their ego, they're the one who ends up losing their mental clarity. But you? If you can endure it with integrity, you actually come out of it more refined, more focused.
Now, this is not some new age idea we just cooked up. Its roots stretch back thousands of years to texts like the Bhagavad Gītā. And look at this quote, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? Criticism that's born from envy isn't saying anything about the person being criticized, it's a huge sign of the critic's own delusion. You see, the Gita makes it clear that words aren't just neutral. Speech is an action. It's a form of karma. So the words you put out there don't just describe the world around you, they are actively shaping your own consciousness, your own inner world, long before they ever hit their target.
Okay, so to really see this thing in action, let's look at a couple of incredible case studies from the ancient Indian epic, the Mahābhārata.
We're going to look at two key figures here, Vidura and Gandhari. Think of them as two sides of the very same coin when it comes to ethical failure. Vidura shows us what happens when truth gets silenced, and Gandhari, well, she shows us the heavy price of knowing the truth but doing absolutely nothing about it.
So first up, the Vidura. This guy was basically the moral compass of the whole kingdom. His advice was always spot on, always aimed at the greater good. But here's the thing. People didn't argue with him or prove him wrong. No, they just ignored him, pushed him to the side. They even called him disruptive just for saying things that made them uncomfortable.
And here's where the reversal is just so perfect. Vidura's clarity, it didn't waver one bit just because he was ignored. It stayed completely intact. But the institution, the kingdom that silenced him, they paid the price. They inherited a kind of collective blindness, and their ability to see clearly just disappeared.
Now let's switch over to Gandhari, the queen. She had this incredible moral insight. She saw, clear as day, that her sons were heading down a path of total destruction. But she chose to do nothing. She called her silence loyalty or patience. She knew what was happening was wrong, but she just didn't step in. And the result for her was just tragic. Her inner clarity didn't just fade away. It festered. It turned into deep anguish and pain. And in the end, the kingdom collapsed. Not because nobody knew any better, but precisely because the people who did know better, like Gandhari, failed to act.
Okay, so those are ancient examples, but you're probably wondering, does this stuff still apply today? Oh, you better believe it does. Let's bring it into the modern world and see how this plays out in a family setting, something we can all relate to. Okay, picture this. A woman who works incredibly hard. She's professionally successful, she makes huge personal sacrifices to create stability for her family. That's the reality. But then, watch how the narrative gets twisted. Her success in mentorship, that gets labeled interference. The stability she provides through her own sacrifice, that's called a personal failing. Her genuine desire to learn and grow, that gets mocked as avoiding responsibility. And these attacks, they're not random. They're designed to deflect blame from other people's own issues. Her sacrifices get totally ignored. Her gender is used to cast doubt on her intentions. And get this, in the cruelest twist, even something completely out of her control, like losing her father when she was a child, gets weaponized against her and thrown in her face as some kind of character flaw.
And this is the karmic reversal, right here in real time. On the outside, it looks like she's the one under fire. But inwardly, with every single unjust comment, it's the critics who are losing their grip, clouding their own judgment, and becoming more and more confused. So we've seen that it works in ancient stories and in modern life. But let's dig into the mechanics a little. How and why does this reversal actually happen? What's the logic behind this type of karma?
Look, it's not mystical. It's actually psychological. When someone speaks unjustly, they're just feeding their own ego. They're nourishing their own resentment and insecurity. Every time they do it, they push themselves a little further from reality. And over time, that habit of unfair judgment literally changes who they are. They're building up a kind of moral debt. So you end up with two people on two totally different inner journeys. The critic, they become all about commentary, not contribution. Their inner world just fills up with all this negative junk.
But the person on the receiving end, the one who endures it, they learn an absolutely vital skill: how to tell the difference between toxic noise and actual helpful correction. And that process builds incredible resilience.
And I really want to drive this point home. This isn't some kind of magical, cosmic punishment. It's just simple, ethical cause and effect. Your actions, especially your words, they shape you, the actor, first and foremost. The main effect is always internal.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway here? What's the one thing you should remember from all of this?
It's this. In any ethical breakdown, the first thing to go isn't something on the outside. It's not a relationship or a project. The very first casualty is always inner clarity. It's the ability to see things as they really are.
Which brings us right back to the central idea, a truth that's as simple as it is powerful. Those who put others down are the ones who ultimately lose clarity, and those who endure it with integrity, they're the ones who gain it.
So this really asks us to rethink what we mean by karma. It's not always about some big, dramatic payback down the line. It's often a much quieter, more immediate process. It operates through one simple metric. In any given situation, who is becoming clearer and who is becoming more confused?
And that leaves us with one final thought to take with you. The real game isn't about who wins or loses an argument, who's right or who's wrong. The real question to ask yourself when you look at your own life and your own relationships is this: who is becoming clearer and who is becoming more confused?